It's Sunday, April 27th, and this is the last video in my series covering questions from the Indivisible National Call this past week. Now, I didn't get to participate in the entire meeting, so I missed some of the questions at the end because I had to rush off to the emergency vet. So there were some questions that I missed. The Indivisible calls are recorded. If you want to go sit through the whole meeting, I believe they put them up on their YouTube. You can also get the link sent to you if you are on the email list for Indivisible. I just like to go through the meetings because I find it helpful for me to process the Q&As that happen, like me personally, but then also I like to add all of my extraneous commentary and draw in other sources and extra information. The last question I want to cover was the 7th question of the event, and it is a touchy subject, and I have a feeling it will probably be heavily suppressed on TikTok. The question was about Indivisible's position on Palestine and the fact that there are grumblings on the internet that other grassroots movements don't want to work with Indivisible because they feel like they don't take a strong enough stand against Israel. And now do you understand why TikTok is going to suppress the hell out of this? Leah said Indivisible has called for stopping arms to Israel from the very beginning. And gosh, my experience in left-wing and progressive spaces is that rumors around Palestine and people's positions on it, organizations' positions on it, can really blow up. There can be a lot of misinformation that gets shared very quickly, and people can have very strong reactions because this is a really serious issue. And when I say that the rumor mill is very speedy and the misinformation is rampant, I mean it. I recently made an apology video to my congresswoman because I had believed misinformation that I heard from multiple sources that I generally consider pretty credible, people in my community that I really respect. A bunch of people were like, well, the only reason that Maxine won the primary is because she took a bunch of money from AIPAC. That's why she beat Sushila Jayapal. And for transparency's sake, I voted for Sushila in the primary. I did not vote for Maxine. Part of the reason that I voted for Sushila was her position on Gaza. But then at a town hall, somebody asked Maxine about this issue. Why did you take money from AIPAC? And she clarified, I never took money from AIPAC, that unfortunately, because of the way our politics is structured and our campaign finance laws, political action committees, they can endorse candidates who don't want to be endorsed by them. And they can fund commercials and pour money into an election, even when the candidate does not want their support. And that AIPAC, they did not want Sushila Jayapal to get elected to Congress. Yes, she is Pramila Jayapal's sister. That is a congresswoman up in Washington. By the way, if you don't attend Pramila Jayapal's resistance labs, A+ do recommend sign up for the next one. It's in early May. It's absolutely worth your time to attend the resistance lab webinars. Yes, sign up today. Anyway, getting back to the election, Maxine said, well, she was already up in the polls and AIPAC didn't really care about her as a candidate at all. They just wanted to tank Sushila Jayapal. And so they said, well, we'll just put money into the front runner and that way we'll make sure that the candidate we don't want to win will definitely lose. And then Maxine went on to say, this is why we need campaign finance reform. This is why we need dark money. We need PACs. We need special interests. We need foreign interests out of our elections. So I had to make a video apologizing because even though I hadn't spread that misinformation, I believed it. I believed that she was like a pro-AIPAC candidate because that was such a common thing that was being spread around Portland. I think something similar has happened with Indivisible. The rumor mill has spread misinformation, whether or not people understand that what they're saying is inaccurate. It's been inaccurate, right? And the rumor is like 50-51 won't work with Indivisible. They are divided over Palestine. And that's simply not true at all on local levels as well as on a national level. I said there is nothing that prohibits 50-51 and Indivisible from coordinating, and in fact, we do frequently. Hands Off April 5th was a coordinated protest. 50-51 and Indivisible worked together. My local Indivisible chapter is partnering with our local 50-51 to put together a May Day event. Leah said in DC on April 5th, there were many speeches about Palestine and that we need to defend the rights and dignity of all people, not just folks in the US. Said it's so important that the right not divide us over propaganda around Palestine. And I want to speak to this specifically. I've made videos about this in the last few weeks where if I make any content that's critical of Russia, and fairly often when I make content that's critical of the Trump regime, I will get a bunch of bots in my comments that all bring up Israel and Palestine. They're obviously bot accounts. They were recently made. They don't have any followers. The phrasing of their comments is very much giving bot. In videos criticizing what Russia is doing to Ukraine, the comments will go something like this. Oh, don't worry about Ukraine. What about what's happening with Israel and Palestine? Don't worry about Russia. Don't look at what Russia's doing. Look at what Israel's doing. Get real riled up about that and forget what we're doing in Ukraine. It's a whole lot of whataboutism. And it's using the fact that folks on the left are rightfully sympathetic to the plight of Palestinians to get them distracted from the human rights violations and the atrocities that Russia is committing against Ukraine. It's like, if we care about Palestine, we should also be caring about Ukraine. And in the bots on videos where I'm critical of the Trump regime, and especially where I mention elections, these private accounts with, again, they have one follower, they were made not very long ago, they will pretend to be a Democrat and say, I'm never voting for Democrats again because Kamala was a pro-genocide candidate. And they just want to relitigate the 2024 election with all of that disinformation, all of that propaganda about Kamala from back then. Because what they don't want is people looking at the fact that I'm talking about the SAVE Act in a video and how that will suppress the votes of millions of women. Propaganda from the right, bots from the right, they know that this is a contentious issue that can be used to divide people who are pro-democracy. They think that this is a place where they can split all of us and weaken our coalitions. And like, to an extent, they're not wrong, so we cannot let them do that. Ezra and Leah brought up something that I have said repeatedly. We need a broad coalition of people who are going to have really different beliefs than us. We have to be united around one issue: stop the Trump regime and restore democracy. They said this is a moment that calls us to show up with people who we don't agree with on every issue. For example, we can show up with neocons who oppose Trump, but with whom we agree on nothing else. I said that. I said I would hold the line with Adam Kinzinger against Donald Trump, even though we probably agree on very little else. What we need to be successful is to create a big tent that welcomes people wherever they are, and we need to center freedom and justice and human dignity and a commitment to democracy. A big tent to defend our basic core values is what will be successful in checking this regime. We cannot allow them to split us on every issue, because the reality is we are going to need a huge coalition of people that are not going to agree on very many things at all. But we've got to be united against fascism. I will remind folks once again, the United States allied with the Soviet Union to stop Germany. It's really important that all of us are advocating for protecting innocent civilian rights. That's something we should all be able to agree on. The center of every convo, we are protecting innocent civilians. We are defending the rights of civilians. We are defending human rights. That is a common ground we should all be able to align on. I have said this many times since before the election. If we ever want to have the chance to help the people of Palestine again, we've got to defeat Trump. If we ever want to have a government that we can pressure and persuade and have influence over again, to make sure that innocent people around the world are protected, we have to have a democracy. We have to have leadership that is persuadable. We need to understand the job right in front of us that will open up a world where we can hash out all of these other issues, where we can live out our values in all of these other ways. But we can never access any of that until we stop Trump. This is not a moment where we can let outside factions divide us. This is a moment where we must be united in solidarity. I guarantee there's people I'm organizing with every week who do not have my same position on Palestine. The way we reclaim our power and we reclaim the ability to help those folks is by joining together in a strong, massive force where we have absolute solidarity around one issue. And we say these other things, we look forward to the day that we can hash these out again. We look forward to the day where we get to argue about these things again. Right now, we have to bond together. We have to link arm in arm with the Liz Cheneys and the Adam Kinzingers, with the two-state solutioners. We have to link arms with all of these people and hold the line. The fallacious thinking of I can only align with people who hold every single position I do and who pass my moral purity tests, that will cripple the resistance. You will find yourself very lonely, very ineffectual. What has worked historically in defeating fascist regimes is a big tent under which a huge, diverse group of people can gather around one issue. If we play purity politics now, if we say, I'm only going to work with you if you check all the boxes for me and I feel that you are righteous enough, that kind of attitude will only benefit Donald Trump. It won't help Palestinians. It won't help Black Americans. It won't help children. It won't help trans folks. It won't help the disabled community. It won't help veterans. To understand, the way we protect innocent civilians is that we restore our democracy.